All we choose to know is that they do not believe in Jesus, but we fail to account for the due respect that's given to the man of Nazareth, the teacher, the prophet who walked the streets of the Fertile Crescent, lifting the lonely, empowering the powerless, and confronting injustice in the name of God, who has appeared to many across all religious boundaries, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, and more. Many devout Jews see Jesus not as a threat to be ignored or subdued, but as more of a Martin Luther figure in their faith, a brash, bold reformer who demanded that those who set the rules follow their own rules, and insisted, yea, embodied, that the Lord was the Lord not of might, but of love and grace and mercy. For these Jews, Jesus is not Messiah, but he does inspire continual reform within Judaism and a clarification of the Jewish faith. The great prophet Muhammad respected Jesus highly as his predecessor. And today, all Muslims, all of them, are expected to believe in the prophet Jesus, who is second only to Muhammad himself. In fact, about 75% of the Quran mirrors the Gospels. There is evidence within and outside of the Gospels that at the very least, Jesus encountered Buddhist thought. About 500 years older in tradition. That he embodied certain Buddhist practices, leading some Buddhists in the world to wonder aloud whether Jesus' ministry and mission was influenced by Buddhism and whether Buddhism was influenced by Jesus. So Nicodemus, this high and mighty Pharisee, confesses on behalf of his fellow Pharisees that there was apparently agreement regarding respect for Jesus, and their logic for that was clear. No one can do the things that Jesus does apart from the presence of God. So therefore, he must be of God. And in response to this very logical conclusion, Jesus used a phrase that has been the topic of plenty of emotional drama, confusion, controversy, conflict ever since. Depending upon the translation, no one can see the kingdom of God without being born from above or without being born again. It is of note, I think, that if Nicodemus had come to ask Jesus a question that night, he hadn't even had the chance to do so. But so often that's the case between Jesus and his Pharisaic brothers. There would be an issue, and even before tackling that issue in the conversation, the situation, the context would come up. And that context would make the Pharisees go, wait, what? It is also of note, I think pretty significant note, that Jesus did not say, no one can see the kingdom of God unless you know, accept, love, believe in, and worship me and me alone. That is not what it says. Which is the way many Christian denominations and sects seems to read that phrase, being born again. Ironically, Nicodemus was on the right track by asking that ludicrous question, can one enter a second time into the mother's womb and be born? Because again, unlike what many Christian denominations and sects advocate, being born again is not simply a matter of signing off on the 10 top tenets of faith or buying into some kind of theopolitical agenda. Being born from above takes work, a little miracle, and a whole lot of grace. Birth is great. I like birth, don't you? I agree with birth. Birth equals life. And there's something about the human species in general that makes us want to promote life, to extend life, to perpetuate life. Instinctively, and generally speaking, we want to live. We want to avoid death if we can, and we want to live well, healthy, productive, holistic, maybe even successful lives. Our religions, all the way from pagan to Pentecostal, help us to define life, to find meaning in life, to navigate the intersection and the interaction of lives, that is, relationships. We are not born in a vacuum, but into a particular circumstance, culture, context, a fact over which we have absolutely no control. By the mystery of God, we are born with a certain amount of innate identity. Again, facts over which we have absolutely no control. But our development is the thing that is left up to our circumstance, context, culture, until we become responsible for our own development. And then, only then, do we have any control, which hopefully we've been taught to manage. But lest we forget, in all of our celebration of birth and life, that birth is also messy. Birth involves pain and force.